I'm Peggy, Steve McCollum.
Diane, are you speaking today, Diane?
No, Wendy is. I just sent her a text.
That's okay. I just, but you're here anyway.
There is a big train going through, so she might not.
That's okay. If we need to, we can push it down on the agenda. That's okay. Thank you. We'll begin this meeting at 8:45 with the peer committee. Any declaration of conflict of interest by any of the members of the committee? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the adoption of minutes. So Donna,
That's two errors that are there.
okay.
On page 5, include every land, number 5 information items, village group updates. The bottom paragraph, the AGM for the Land and Ag Society is on November 26th. And the scarecrow making workshop was held at the exhibit hall at the fairgrounds, not the community center.
Moved by Peggy Sweet-McCumber, seconded by Susan Gallus, that September 18th peer committee meeting minutes to be adopted as amended. So any other amendments, errors, deletions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please signify. Those committee members, thank you. Any opposed? Carried. So today is the day of presentations of the village group budgets for consultation for our 2020 budget. And today we will start with the Terse group. So Sue, do you have a presentation to make?
Yes, we do.
Lovely, thank you.
Good morning. Thanks very much. Oh, can you hear me? Okay. Our highlights and achievements, as you can see up on the screen there, we've got a great community group in Lyndhurst. I'm sure, as most people know, not a large group, but it's very enthusiastic. We did a great community cleanup, plant sale fundraiser. The flags for the main street was a big purchase this year from the committee with help from a grant from council, thank you. And we decided at this point to buy 20 flags that are all the same, and they're going to be left out all year, so we're not changing them all the time. Festival of Small Halls was a big success. The Lyndhurst Horticulture Tour was a huge success. We're very thrilled about that. It worked out very well. We continue to expand the Barn Quilt Trail, volunteer in-kind efforts for the cleanup of 405 Lyndhurst Road. There was a lot of work being done by community members to go in and chop down trees and clean off the brush area and just clean it up to make it more of an appealing park, because people stop right before they go across the bridge and generally look to the right, which is where this ground is. We felt strongly that we wanted it to be appealing and not just a big field of dead grass. The events calendar has now completed, now that the community calendar is going. The administration funding was used for our insurance, admin costs, and communication with residents. So this year, our activities and budget requests are the continued administrative support, the Furnace Falls Phase 1 plan, is a project that is the waterfront boardwalk installation. And the estimated cost for that was $30,500, of which the LRC would like to partner for our contribution of $8,000. So we feel very strongly that we'd like to see this come to fruition. There's an open permit on this project already. So rather than wait for that permit to die and then have to reapply for the permit and, all of the costs and time constraints with that, we'd love to see that project come to fruition. The other project is the 405 Lyndhurst Road, which, as I say, we've done a lot of work to already, but we would like to see the orange fence removed and just have it basically turned into, what looks like a park area, so that it's, appealing to look at as people come into the village without a lot of, we're not asking for additions of installations of platforms or stages or anything like that. We just want it cleaned up to be a park. The continuation of the implementation of the TLTI signage policy. Our new sign is great. Thank you very much. Looks really nice. Everybody's good. And the Linters Library is the other project that we would like addressed, just because we don't want to lose the library. We aren't sure as a committee what the best hours are to have the library open, but we would hate to see the library hours be knocked back and knocked back and knocked back until no one's using it anymore. And I think what happens is, you know, when you stop having evening hours, people stop coming in the evening, and then, you know, it continues to work back from there. So it's something that we feel is very important. And the other project is the community improvement designation, which we would really be interested in having staff pursue. We have a lot of areas along our main street that people are interested in, and people are nervous about investing in them because of the fact that they just aren't sure exactly what they can do and what's going on. And the one thing that we notice in the village is that any improvement that we make has a tremendous ripple effect. It's such a little village, and so the minute somebody fixes one building up, it seems to really quickly catch on. So that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Lovely, thank you so much, Sue. Ms. Good?
Sorry, thank you, Susan. I did also want to point out, and I'm going to lift this from social media. I believe it was a post actually that Terry shared very recently from the Green Gecko, if I'm not mistaken. And I apologize for announcing it or whatever, but there was a Facebook quote that was on it, or a comment or a review from this woman from out of town who would come in for both the Turkey Fair, perhaps, and I think it was Culture and Heritage Days as well, and the spending that she did that kind of snuck up on her, I guess, when she got home. And so I just want to further reiterate how valuable your contributions are to the community, only because, and I'm sure we're going to hear several more examples of that today, but that these are real economic drivers within our community as well, and we certainly couldn't do it without you guys, so just a huge thank you on that note.
Thanks. Can I just add one more comment? One quick comment was we had the paddles. Trish came up and set the tent up in the Green Gecko parking lot with the Horticulture, and the paddles were there. And I was stunned at the number of people that stopped, talked about the paddles, talked about the project, appreciated the artwork. It was really interesting to have that project on display. So thank you very much for that again.
Thank you very much, Sue. And I'll add a couple of comments in regards to Winters. I have planted some seeds at the county level in regards to a walking path or a walking bridge beside your heritage lovely bridge, mainly because, and in attending the Turkey Fair again this year, the sheer volume of people that are coming and going just that one day, it's a safety concern. But I know it's not just that one day. It's all the bikers and the people that come throughout the season that want to walk from when to go over to the park potentially. Because that's the thing, we can make all these investments, you know, now over the next 5 years. But if the humans can't get from one side to the other safely, it's not. We're sort of putting the cart before the horse, if you will. Having said that, that is a county road, so that is partially a county project that we have to engage with them. And I know that Anne Boheen had sent off a letter to them asking them to start the study that is required to find out what the next steps would be. So my hope is that, my push will be for them to consider that as part of their budget for 2020 at county. So just so that Winters is aware that hopefully will start moving slowly but surely.
Thanks very much for that. I just realized I skipped over it as I went along here, and it is a very big issue in the village. Our mail pickup is on the other side of the bridge for most people, so that sort of thing. And people are walking a lot more than they used to with the new waterfront trail. We find people are out for a walk, you know, sometimes twice a day, and it's great to see everybody out there. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next, any further questions from staff or anyone else? Anybody in the audience that has a question? Good. The next one on the file is Rockport, but we'll just push you guys down a little further until hopefully Wendy makes it. And then we'll go on to LAFR. Thank you.
we've had a very successful year again. Going through just briefly some of our events, the tree lighting and Christmas showcase turned out really well. We expanded it this past year to include Christmas craft sale, and that was really well received. Our main fundraiser, the annual plant sale, was again very successful. We always wonder whether the weather was going to hold for us, and it did again. So we had hundreds of people out and did really well. We have a lot of events. The Textile Festival, we do very well at. The garden tour, that's a new one that we're working on, and that again brought in a lot of people and a lot of interest in further garden tours. So we've got people phoning up saying, "What can we be part of the tour? When's the next one going to be?" Our main event, the Horse Festival, again very successful. We had tons of people, and the weather wasn't the greatest. It was a little chilly and a little bit of rain, but you know, horse people don't seem to melt in the rain, so that was a good thing. Scarecrow sightings, that's our second year, and that, would you say that is what, doubled in size now? Yeah, so doubled in size, so if we can keep that going, that would be a great thing. The rest stop program, we the donation of 3 benches, one to the outlet, one to the St. Lawrence District Medical Center, and one to Tides. And from what I can see, they are all in place and are accepting bombs anytime. I don't know where we are there. I can't read it up there, but that's okay. Not worried. Talking about the administrative costs, that is a very important thing to us because insurance is beginning to kick us from every angle, and even our tree lighting event at Christmas might have a problem in that they need to find out whether they have insurance on the boom to be able to put the lights up for us. So there are things coming from all over the place. Yep. The insurance is heading from all sorts of different directions, making life very difficult for us to put on craft fairs. But you know that's something to be dealt with another way. Let me go through this. The administrative support, just quickly broken down, we get $2,000 a year, and of that, let me see if I can find where it goes. Up here. Just bear with me for a second and find it. Yeah, didn't I have a breakdown? Okay. Anyway, it covers our insurance. There we are. Right down in front of me. Okay, now I'm back on track. So 2,000 administrative financial support for community groups included in the operating budget under community engagement. Funding was used for insurance policy, $1,200, radio advertising for the year for all our various events, $900, ink and printing costs into $320, website hosting and maintenance, $290, and that's going to go up. And miscellaneous for $300. That came to a total of $3,010 for LAFR to run its business. So, you know, the $2,000 is very welcome. It helps us a lot. Otherwise, we'd have to figure out another fundraiser to make some more money, and we just don't have the manpower to do that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Activities, printing costs, all that. There are a few things that we'd like to council to consider for us. Continuing floral beautification, have that ongoing. We're very satisfied with what happened with the baskets and that this year. There was a little bit of flooding in the baskets, and that caused the plants to wither a little early, but that's just a learning process. With all the rain we had, maybe needed a little less watering at certain points. But that's just a day-to-day thing. Let's see, printing costs for flyers, brochures at TLTI office. That really helps us if we have that availability. Our website maintenance, and we have a figure down there that really, we have a $300 figure. And how did we get that figure done? Was that, you have got a handle on that?
The One Idea Inc. of Kingston did not give us an invoice this year, so we were just kind of going by what had been charged by Lansdowne Hotel to host it. We got a plan just on the weekend, and they're asking for $100 a month for the basic maintenance plan for our website, which we spent about $7,000 to a grant to the township. So we really feel this is important. We put this money into it, we've invested it, we really need it to be protected. So we're just, it will have to increase. We're willing to put some money into it, but if the township can help us with some of that, it would be a great benefit to us.
And there are a lot of people out there trying to cause damage to websites. So if we lost it, we lose it. That's not what we want to happen. We're in the process of installing a welcome sign at the CN Flower Garden. It's a perfect location for people who just stopped waiting for the train to go by to learn a little bit about Lansdowne. So we're including the web page and Facebook addresses so that people can find out what Lansdowne is about and where to go to find out about it. We're getting there. DLGI upgraded pixel sign. I know that's been a thorn in everyone's side for a little while. It is very useful for us for coming events and emergency problems. If we have power outages, tell people where to go get warm, that sort of thing. So it is a very valuable asset to have. Perhaps a little higher quality than the hundreds of red dots. Old people have a really hard time reading that. CIP, we just finished our incorporation this year, so we're officially incorporated, and we understand that helps us join up with the community improvement plans. So we'd like to somehow be part of that, look into the funding for low or no interest loans for homes and business owners, cleaning up signage, anything that is needed. And that also includes making the property standards bylaws, enforcing them. And I understand some have been approached already on that. Workshops, information on how to prepare a successful business plan. We have had a few people open businesses, and I'm not going to point to any fingers or anything, but sometimes you wonder where are they going to make their money? And in a town like this, it is small, and to sell high-end horizontal fletchers for a heck of a lot of money isn't going to make them a living. So we need to help prospective business owners understand what the area needs and how to present it. We love the new pavilion, and there's a suggestion that perhaps a curtain wall could be added at some point. That would help events from the wind and rain that sometimes whistles through quite heavily. And also, if we eventually implement perhaps, say, a Friday night movie, the screens could be used as a backdrop for something to project on. So just a thought to look into there. Signage at Jerry Park to promote the new pavilion, splash pad, playground, playing fields, parking lot, picnic area, and pickleball courts. I've been approached a couple of times, and I know other people have been asking, where is all this? And Yeah, we all know where it is, but they don't. So a little bit of directional signage would help with that. Now to the last one here. Staff and kind support. And this has been incredible. Everyone has been so helpful with us, for us. Sometimes we have silly questions, sometimes we have a really deep question, but we always come up with an answer from staff. So that's very helpful to us, and we like to keep that going. Let's see. Well, there's more here. Again, with the CIP, one of the main things I've noticed is only one business, it seems, in town is accessible. All the others have to either go over curbs, so the curbs are need to be shaped for wheelchair access. A lot of the buildings have steps to get up into them, and I don't know what the accessibility requirement is. I think that's coming for this year or next.
I think it's 2022, I think. We'd have to double check, but it is coming up.
It is, yeah. So if we wait till the last moment, then we know what sort of nightmare that will be. So that really needs to be studied, and perhaps with this community improvement funding, some of the businesses can be helped, because I suspect there's going to be a substantial cost putting ramps and changing access points. Let's see. We've got the website, and we already mentioned that we're running into problems with cost overruns and I don't know if you just read it, okay. I'll do that. Okay, we did the Jerry Park thing. Assistance with sound systems, tents, refreshments, grant applications, fire services, water truck for the racetrack, youth programs, and general inquiries. It's always very helpful, and so we do appreciate that, and if we can continue our access to those, that would be great. Really don't have much more to add to this, other than we are being hit from all sides with insurance problems. Insurance companies not wanting to cover craft sales, or if they do, an excessive amount of money has to be paid by each vendor to insure themselves for the day. And we as a group are not willing to put on an event without insurance. It just puts us into too much risk, and that's not going to happen. So we need to deal with this, because the insurance people are just tightening the noose constantly, and we can see the end of craft fairs, because craft fairs don't make a lot of money at these shows, and to add $150 worth of insurance for the day, that's a lot of money for them to pay. And I think I've got it all covered.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Lansdowne Group in regards to the budget presentation? Ms. Berkeley?
First of all, my apologies for being late. It just went right off my radar completely. So I don't make excuses. Your insurance, I think we're pretty well all the same. Are you finding that when you do an event, it's going up quite a bit too?
Yeah, or they don't want to insure that event anymore because of having vendors. So we're into deciding, okay, is this vendor a high-risk vendor, such as a blacksmith, that there's fire and sparks involved, compared to Granny's old-time knitting, where death by knitting needle doesn't really happen too often. So
I think Ms. Goodman can actually speak to the challenges, because I know that she's been working with the group as well. Maybe she can shed some light on the issues at hand.
Because we found our insurance went up for this Oktoberfest that we're having. It's gone up 50% over last year.
I'm just shaking my head here and on because I know I've probably spoken to everyone sitting around this table on multiple occasions that the challenges that we're having vis-a-vis insurance and insurance coverage. So I just want to assure you that we have been working diligently, multiple conversations with Cal, who is our current provider and whatnot, to try to find workable on-the-ground solutions. So for example, with the vendors, they're renting a space directly from us so that we can provide coverage to the facility user group, which then is only $5 or $10 for the day, at which point, you know, we have the ability to absorb or cushion or pad some of that. So what we're trying to do is really look at alternative ways of ensuring that we're not killing our community events, because as we referenced earlier today, these are vital to our communities, and without being able to have these, we're really hampering, you know, volunteer efforts and whatnot. So please be aware that we're kind of continuing to look at these matters and to try to come up with on-the-ground solutions. And the more we learn and scope this matter, we'll be sure to continue to disperse this information or share it in terms of maybe even clarity of what we cover on our property and where there are particular gaps, so that we can help you guys maybe better define exactly what kind of coverage that you might need, and explore additional opportunities or possible providers, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. The other thing I'd like to add to the Lansdowne, the Lancer group, one of the things that was discussed last night at council meeting was in regards to the railway crossing here in Lansdowne, which is horrific on a good day. Although, as I said at last night's council meeting, I think Mallertown might take the prize right now, because I thought it was bad here. We crossed in Mallertown on the weekend, and it was bad. So one of the things that I will be doing is taking a notice of motion to county council, because we have been asking them to deal with that crossing for quite some time, and it's fallen on deaf ears. So I'm basically demanding that it be done in 2020 without fail, because I'm really quite concerned with the safety of people pulling travel trailers across there, wagons, anything with any large attachment. The way that you go over that track could easily pop something off. I know that trailers and trucks are made to take those things, but at the same time, it's a safety concern, because people have to slow right down, and if something gets left on those tracks, we're going to be in a lot bigger, we'll have a much bigger issue. So it is a public safety concern, and we will be going forward, as well as County Road 34, I believe is the other crossing that we'll be asking, because that's a county crossing. So I think that's everything. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention about Lansdowne. Last night we heard from a developer who's looking for a zoning amendment for the old baseball field in Lansdowne, where they will be hopefully successful in getting a zoning amendment to put up 12 semi-detached, all one floor, slab on grade homes here in the village. So that would be 12 families or couples coming into, there will be going to be 2 bedrooms, but that they'll be hopefully adding to the population, going on the water, wastewater users, and more community members at large. So just wanted to let everybody know that that's a good, positive thing, and we hope that we see more of these proposals throughout the municipality as well as the village of Lansdowne. So, okay, wonderful. Now, I pushed you down to the bottom to give you a little bit of breathing space there, Wendy, so I'll move forward with SBARA. Thank you.
Good morning. Yes, we've had a good year. One of the important things that we did this year was we upgraded our website, which is visit skilliesbay.ca. This is a complicated issue for me, but we have somebody on our board that is very knowledgeable about this. So we redeveloped, we recoded the website in its entirety, making it much more user-friendly. We went into WordPress, which you probably are familiar with. So that was a big hit for us in terms of what that cost. We had 2 small halls concerts. We had the tree lighting, which is good. We had 2 story fests. These are our money makers, and people actually enjoy them. It's so nice to have fundraisers where people actually come and enjoy themselves. We find that these story fests and the small halls, the number of people that come that we don't recognize is like amazing. So we're thinking, they're coming into our village, and they're coming because they want to be there. So that's always fun. The Red Canoe Fest we had in June, and yeah, that's an event that we'll continue having. The $2,000 grant, we appreciate that goes towards our insurance. Yeah, at some point we should talk more specific about insurance. I think our insurance policy is about $1,800, but they cover everything. We sort of let them know what we're doing, and we've never had any question, but don't ask me who it's with. I saw that Wendy.
I'm sure we could find out who that is with very quickly if we needed to.
Okay.
Share that.
Yeah, yes. And just a reminder about the pitch-in that happens in April. We really support the township's support on that. Okay, so what we would like to see this coming year, cellular service. I know that there's many areas in our township that doesn't have very good cell reception. Silly Space got to be one of the top ones. You know, people are at the dock, they get into their car and they drive up towards the church on the high ground to get cell reception. It's a safety issue because many people are losing or not having landlines. So it's a safety issue. It will attract new residents coming in. The third crossing, the third crossing that's, from Kingston it's happening. So we will be attracting more residents to our area because we have a wonderful township. Our property taxes, we appreciate, are so much lower than the city of Kingston. So if, I know that the township's working on that, but if you needed a guinea pig or a place to start, Silver Space, yeah, we're there.
That will be good too.
Yeah.
The next request is a new pavilion in Centennial Park. Our beloved teepee is now gone as of last week. Whatever it was there, it was built in 1967 for Centennial. It underwent many different changes because of safety reasons. It sort of ended up looking like a witch's hat, but it was still the village's teepee. And a year ago, when Public Works finally said, "That's it, guys. It's coming down." SBARA supported the township, and we went to those diehards and said, "There's no choice here." But the way we try to sell it is that the township would hopefully consider replacing it with a pavilion that would be more usable, sort of in the same location, but something with a roof that we could have, music events. It would be there for Canada Day. So we know that in this budget in 2019, there was only money to take it down. And we realized that Kim, the township's put a grant in for that. But we can't say enough about how important it would be to have a new structure in 2020. Our lives are on the line. Peter mentioned property standards, and Sue did too. We have like 2 or 3 infamous places in Sillies Bay that are terrible. One is like just coming off 15 Highway on Bay Street that comes into the liquor store and the medical center. And I know that the township staff are working on it, but I can't emphasize enough that just, it really damages the property values on those streets and the whole village. We also would ask that the OPP would occasionally drive through our village. We find that, things happen down at the harbor or in the park, and just occasional, an OPP car coming through would be wonderful. We rarely see them. We would also emphasize the continued support for our harbor. It's really, a wonderful asset for this township. It was exciting this year because it was the satellite office for the boat, and because I live 4 feet from it, I would say that there was a boat parked there, like 2 or 3 boats every night, coming and going. I talked to our businesses, and they definitely profited. Our Nest Egg said she sold ice cream to every person that rented a boat, so I'm not sure if that's scientifically based, but it was well managed. It was kept clean. It all worked well. We'd love for the township to continue that support of the boat and move it on to another year or many years. Library, Susan mentioned this too. It's an important building in our township and in our village. And that evening opening, I know it's difficult because of the safety aspects, but we are now open just Thursday night, but we would really like to continue that, if not expand it. We would, the library actually contacted SBARA to see if we would co-sponsor some movie events or something, and we were very receptive to that idea. So I think the library would be good to have more activities there and better advertising. The other comment about the library is that the exterior of the library seemed to fall through the cracks last year. Just sweeping the gravel away in the spring, it was just, as I said, fell through the cracks, and it looked fairly horrendous, but I think there's a bit of improvement now about the exterior of the library. We want to thank the township for the lawn, the flowers, the porta potty. Pickleball actually happened this year in Sillies Bay and on the tennis courts, but we're still waiting for the lawns. And pickleball, people came out twice a week. I'm sure Kim's familiar with this, so lines on a pickleball court would be great. We appreciate the township support with community events. I know Frost Fest, Canada Day, Red Canoe Fest, the car rally, all appreciate the township support. We would like the township to consider putting high-intensity LED lights on the 3 village entrances. We're right next to Frontenac County, and we see that many of their intersections have intersection lights, and we know that it increases the safety. Signs. Everybody got a lovely village sign, but not Sillies Bay, and I know that it's an MTO thing. I would love to hear a progress report. Like, is it ever going to happen, or is it like 70%?
I can't speak to that one, but I could get you an updated
Okay. Okay. And the wayfinding signs, I know that it's on the agenda. So just another minor point is in Centennial Park, many years ago, we planted trees to honor people in appreciation, and we thought we were really kind by putting these lovely wrought iron fences around these trees with plaques. Didn't work out so much now because it's damaging the trees, and they have to be removed. And I don't think it's a big deal. It just needs someone with the proper tools, James, that could just cut them, because I know John Taylor said that it was damaging the trees. So if that could happen, and I promise we won't put any more wrought iron fences around trees, because I was definitely part of that program.
Wow, throw yourself on the place.
Yes, and we just want to encourage the township to go ahead with the CIP. I think at the last peer meeting, you mentioned that the township applied for a grant for a consultant. And with all the other groups, we're on board with whatever we can do, because we certainly would like that help with our Main Street. And whatever strategic planning you're doing, SBARA is there. So thank you again for the Township Council support and the staff support.
Thank you so much, Peggy. Any questions in regards to the presentation from SBARA? Seeing none, I will make a comment in regards to a couple of things. One, I had the pleasure of being the MC for the small halls in Sealy's Bay, and it was my first small hall, so thank you very much for the invite and the opportunity, and it was a lot of fun. And there was, I think, 120 people there. It was a great turnout and a great, crazy band who had a blast up on the stage, but a really great community builder as well. It certainly, there was a bar that was available, but, it was pretty low key in the grand scheme of things. But people of all ages and a lot of people who weren't even from the area also there attending. So congratulations for that. And I hope that there's opportunity and it might be something that some of the other areas, if you have a venue that might work. I know Lyndhurst has had small halls as well. I'm not sure we have it here in Lansdowne, but it's a great program and a lot of fun. The other thing I'd like to address, which actually pertains to all of the villages in regards to the library, we've been hearing a lot of feedback from people who are quite disappointed in library hours and staffing challenges. So last night at council meeting, we did discuss the we need to enter into an agreement with the library in regards to roles and responsibilities, because we've just sort of operated off the cuff more so in regards to who's responsible for what. So when you talked about how it looked on the outside of that building, that we provide the building and the general maintenance thereof, but the daily sweeping of that, those are things that we need to get clear with the library here in Lansdowne, Lyndhurst, and Sealy's Bay, as to who sweeps the cobweb out of what corner, and and who's responsible for what. So we're going to get very clear about that. Having said that, the township has taken a lot of flack in regards to these hours, and I'm not trying to deflect, but I want people to understand is that we don't have a say in that. That we provide, I shouldn't say we don't have a say, we provide the funding for the library, so we have input. But it is up to the library and the library board to set those hours. We are meeting with the library this morning. This will be part of the discussion because it is a concern that we have. But if people are quite upset about this, it is imperative that they speak to members of the board and that they put their comments in writing. We can definitely pass it along to the board if you want to send it to us. But Brenda Lawley, who is the chair, is very receptive to feedback. And we will be working with them. But the hope is that we don't see any more decreases in time, mainly because we were talking about the municipal drug strategy last night. And one of the things that Councillor Gorell talked about was that the need for places for kids to go after school is so much in demand. And even if it's a couple nights a week, it gives kids an opportunity to go and be with their friends, have high-speed internet, have programs, who knows what can happen, but that library piece is important, and it is important to this township, so just so everyone knows that it's on our radar. Looking at all my chicken scratching here. And as far as the TP, we thank the SBARA group for being part of the consultation many moons ago in regards to that. Sometimes it's hard to let go of things that are historically significant, but it's like the wheelchair accessibility. Things have changed drastically in what the expectation for accessibility is. So it's important that we move forward with that, and hopefully the grant application that went in is successful, and we can help move that forward along with the Village of Sealy's Bay. And thank you to Ms. Goodman for helping with that grant application. So that's the last thing that I will say. before we move on to Rockport. We have a great grant writer in our midst, and she does a great job. Kim Goodman is kind of our Somalics when it comes to that, so it's important that, I know that you guys have said wonderful things about Kim about that, but there's lots of money out there, we just have to ask for it. I know that she's helped the Rockport group in regards to the Trillium grant. We're going to be going to Infrastructure Ontario in regards to the Lansdowne Community Building, and we're lucky to have people with this on staff that know what to say and how to phrase it and put it in a proper format so that we are hopefully successful. Okay, so you're on deck, Wendy.
Again, my apologies for not being here. I'm afraid I have too many things on my plate. Okay, last 2019 highlights. Well, similar to SBARA, we did redo our website. We had money in the budget, and that's where it went. And it makes a huge difference. It's so much easier to be able to post things, and it's easier to use. We still have content that we have to change. We're not finished yet, but it is a new website, easier to navigate and easier to keep up to date. And we are grateful for the money from the budget that enabled us to do that, because that was a big ticket item for us. Overall, RDG engaged graphic designers to create the interpretive sign for the Rockport Customs. That was in our budget. It will be done, it's being worked on now, but it won't be installed until spring. But it will be, the design will be done and paid for by the end of the year. So that item in our budget will come through. We had a lot of fundraisers. I think there's something that's happening that's quite obvious in the Rockport Development Group and the Extended Group is a bit of a burnout, a bit of tiredness. We did have 4 fundraisers this year. We had a hockey ticket raffle in February, we had an Indian dinner in May, a golf tournament in September, and we're trying to pull together Oktoberfest for this weekend. And then we also had the opening of the Customs Dock, and we had to navigate through being flooded and having to move dates and stop work, and so it's been quite a year. So in terms of getting things done, our focus as RDG, the team is amazing in terms of pulling through and coming together, but there's a fatigue setting in, and it's starting at the chair. We're really pleased that the Customs House is open. We were very grateful for the help from the township in getting the training done so that our volunteers were trained. It was an excellent training session, and people really benefited from it. And we did run some stats. We kept track for the first month of visitors, but in the first 3 weeks, there were 752 people that went into the building and walked around on the dock that actually came inside the building. There were, in the first 3 weeks, 52 boats that we know of that tied up and used the dock. And it's even yesterday, you looked out there and there isn't a day goes by that there isn't somebody out there. Somebody caught a 5-pound bass the other day and was thrilled out of his mind they caught this great big bass. So it has been a true asset, and all the help and support that we've had getting that done is greatly appreciated. We couldn't be prouder, and we hope that the township is as proud of it as we are. We have made the decision not to resurface until after we find out what the flood situation is going to be like in 2020. That's our big item. One of our big items after that in the floating dock. We made the decision at the board meeting that it was just, it didn't make sense till we know what's going to happen next year. We watched the waves come over the top of it this past year, and whatever we do is going to have to be high water compatible. But the good news is the building was raised before it happened, and the building didn't suffer one iota. It never got touched with the water, and we never had to sandbag it. So the investment in getting the building raised really paid off. The $2,000, insurance takes $1,250 of it right off the top. And we then, on top of that, have to pay more insurance every time we have an event. So the insurance doesn't automatically cover your events. Depending on what you're doing with your event, then you have to pay extra. So we paid extra for some of these events. So most of the 2,000 has probably gone just to cover extra costs. The treasurer, just as a footnote, it's not in here, the treasurer of Force did a summary. Friends of Rockport Customs is Force, that's another acronym. And RDG contributed, I think it was $28,000 over the 2 years from the fundraising that's gone on over several years, but $28,000 has been put into the customs from RDG efforts, and making it the single largest contributor to the project. We've had some pretty big donations, but we're very pleased with that, and that's taken several years of dinners and golf tournaments and so forth to stash it away for it, but so I thought I would share that with you. So that's under accomplishments. Coming up to what's coming in the next year, there were some things that we had tried to get done in the past that are still high, and we know that there's a meeting coming up on the 24th, I believe, with the planning for Rockport. But the parking are our biggest issues in Rockport. We've been fortunate, people have been really good about the 2-hour parking on the custom stop, but the parking and getting a solution, and it's been over 8 years or more since we had submitted the first parking proposal, and there's always seemed to be a reason not to get that done. And so that's probably our biggest one that we don't know, well, it's on here under capital, but I mean, there's nothing we can do to move that forward. So that stays in your hands. The big thing for us, and RDG is not, you'll see in here, it hasn't asked for a lot, because most of our work that we need to do, if you do something, you need to have resources, and we need the resources to do the fundraising for finishing off the customs. So we do hope you'll continue with the admin support, because insurance would be a really big burden without that. Not to mention, we use it for print cartridges and ribbons and other things, but actually, when you add up the other insurance, most of it goes to insurance. We do need some repairs done to the kiosks. I forgot to mention on the previous screen, we are still going to get the maps done. We hope to replace them. If you were in Rockport and went to the kiosk to look at the maps, you would be appalled, as we are, because they are so faded. They really have to be replaced. So we think we'll be able to get it done before the end of the year. We're not sure. There will be some repairs to the kiosks. I believe Diane corrected me that I think the Works Department did do some repairs to them. We were going to do more with the Joyceville team, but that fell through this year. Just for those of you who are interested in the Joyceville project, we weren't able to carry that off this year. They weren't able to pull it together at their end, so we didn't get that extra work. One of the things we asked for, we would really like, and it's not, is we have expanded the flower beds at the gates, but it would be so helpful if when the Rockport Rec Hall is being mowed, they could just mow or weed eat in front of those flower beds. And at one time, and James will remember this, we had you cut back some of the brush at the gates, but when buses are coming out and cars are coming in, and to see the beauty of the gates and the mural on the back of the church, if that brush on the west side could be cut back in the spring and cut back more, And then if the weed eating could be done in front of the flower boxes, it would be such a help to us. We go and steal people from, well, I take the guy off our dock and take him up there, and Diane takes her weed eater and goes up there and weed eat. But it's inconsistent, and if we could have that done while Rockport Rec Hall is being done, it probably wouldn't be that much extra for you, but it would make a huge difference for us. We had in the month last year banners for the posts. We're still debating this because people are getting older for climbing up on the ladders to change the banners, and you know we don't have anybody that has a truck that can lift us up in that. We wanted to put metal ones up, but we're debating this. So that was in the budget. It wasn't done in 2019. We put it back in. We're still for 2020 because we have the posts, we have the beautiful lights, and it would be nice to have something there. But we're conflicted as to metal or going back to cloth and having the resources to be able to change them. So I'm going to ask Diane if she thinks I've missed anything, because she is my co-worker. Although I sit here, Diane and I really co-chair the RDG. Have I missed anything, Diane?
No, I don't think so, but I have two comments. I think RDG, at our last meeting, our treasurer for Forest Poetry raised over 30,000. Like over 30,000 was given from RDG to Forest on the at our last meeting. And the other thing, I just wondered, did Lansdowne participate in the Joyceville program this summer?
No, there, I believe that you tried, but then
No,
something.
we did the P&G.
Oh, the P&G group came and did the cleanup or the painting and the fairgrounds, and it's the last year for the day of caring, because P&G will be closed as of next year. But we do have some new ideas in regards to that, so hopefully it'll replace those days of caring. Diana's very thorough with her minutes, just to let you know. I've read her. She's very on the ball when it comes to detail, so thank you, Diana. Anything else you want to add?
Just an overall thank you for the support that we've had. I know we always seem to be asking, but the other thing that is not really RDG's is the boat ramp. And we would really love an update on where the boat ramp is at and what's going to happen with the boat ramp. That again has been on our radar for years. Some of these things get a little frustrating, and I know I'm called tenacious because the customs was 10 years, but I really don't want every project to be a 10-year project.
Trust me, we would like to see some of these come to fruition and off the docket. Actually, last night at council meeting, see, people need to watch council meetings. There's lots that happens at the council meetings. Last night we got an update in regards to the Rockport ramp. It has been delayed because of a species at risk. And I'm sorry to pass that along, but that, so there's a person who's been, it's a required assessment from an NR. So a person has been called in to document that said species at risk before any construction can happen. So.
What is species at risk?
Thank you. Hi, I haven't met all of you, so for you, those of you that don't know me, I'm Marnie Vendetti, I'm the Director of Planning.
Good, yes, I was going to add.
Oh, sorry. And this is Kate Tyndall, she's our treasurer. So I apologize, I guess I should have been around the table. I assume that everybody knows, but at this point, I apologize.
So just species at risk is an MNR assessment. So MNR has identified different areas in the province where there may be species at risk. In looking at the dock, and I'm not familiar with the specifics, so I'm just giving really high level of what species at risk is there's areas in the province that are identified as potentially having species at risk. So I'm assuming there was an environmental review done of the docks, or sorry, the boat ramp site, and it was sent to MNR for their review. They may have flagged that additional research or evaluation is required. And sometimes that takes a couple of seasons to look at spawning or I don't know the details of this one, Wendy, so don't. But what I'm saying is it's being done, and it may have already been done over a season or two at this point. I don't know the
Like a
details of
spring
this
and a
assessment.
summer.
But we can provide you with an update in terms of the timing and what's being done there. But in some cases, it may come back that the assessment's been done and there is no species at risk there. It may come back that perhaps there may be the requirement for habitat restoration in a close proximity to the area or something. So it doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, there's absolutely a species at risk there and everything has to stop. It just means that there needs to be an assessment done to look at the potential or what's actually there before they can proceed with construction.
Who does the assessment?
That's an independent person.
No, it would be a biologist that's retained by the municipality that would do the assessment, and then it would go back to MNR for their review and so on.
So they tell you it could be done, you have to actually get the biologist to do it? And has that, when did this all come about?
Just in the last week. So we just got the report from Adam Goheen last night at the meeting. We'll get the specifics to you so that you know what needs to be done and what sort of timeframes. And then you can have something to report back to RDG.
There's this is big season for pulling out all the boats. And so it sort of seems all the boats are being pulled out over those species at risk. And this makes no sense. And so many people are remediating shoreline right now.
Yep.
And to not fix our boat ramp for years and years and years it's mind-boggling.
Definitely. We appreciate your frustration.
Your worship.
Yes, CAO.
Thank you. This species at risk, there's been recent studies like initiatives with the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River in 2018, 2019, and that's probably why it's sort of come up now. Different species identified like lake sturgeon, striped bass, etc. And it could be that in the Rockport area there's nothing at all, but they just added that, and that's why it's come up. So it could be something that doesn't delay it for all that long, but we'll look into it and let you know. But it's just a requirement that sprung up, and probably because of the studies that have been going on in 2018, 2019. That's why it hasn't come up before.
I seem to recall that in the spring when we were talking about it, it was spawning season, so the work couldn't be done because it was spawning season.
I don't think any work could be done on the river until middle of July.
Right, and by then we were hugely flooded, so the work couldn't be done.
So we have it from all sides, just like everybody else. And I'm not minimizing what's going on because obviously there's a number of issues at hand. But the MNR, because we have to have so many different agencies involved in all of this, if we were able just to go out and do the work, it would have been done long ago. But unfortunately, when the ministry comes in, they tie our hands. We also heard from Cattle Bay Regional Conservation Authority last night at the council meeting. They are increasing their staffing. I believe they lost 5 people, 2 part-time or something to that effect last night. They're under scrutiny from the government as well. And so there was very lively discussion in regards to Mission Creek and their expectations and what their role is and how how they interpret the provincial policy statement, because it was asked of them, where does your policy come from? And the new CAO, Katrina, spoke to the fact that it comes from the province. But if you look at their policy versus the provincial policy, sometimes it doesn't always match, or it's not exactly the same, so it's an interpretation. So we're going to be having further meetings with the Cattle Bay Regional Conservation Authority, and we will be getting down to some brass tacks, because it was, like I said, a lively discussion, and we feel like we've been held hostage in a number of, and as do homeowners in some cases, and the shoreline issues on the St. Lawrence right now are a perfect example of, they're often the ones that impede property owners from fortifying making their shorelines more resilient because of the need for natural shoreline. But the reality is that if they don't control the waterway as they have for decades, we'll continue to lose shoreline, and property owners will continue to have their properties in peril. So, and no one knows that better than we.
I'd like to pass on one other thank you to the township. And it's not just from RDG, but it's from the community at large on water. The support we send in sandbags and the flooding. We sort of lose track of saying thank you, but please express our thanks as a community to the Works Department for all the support during the flooding, and to the mayor for championing some of our issues.
You're welcome. Thank you. So we're going to move this along unless there's any further questions in regards to Rockport's presentation from any of the staff members. Oh, Ms. Goodwin, yes.
I just want to kind of close this portion of our agenda and thank you guys so much for coming out and presenting this information today. I'm very pleased to see that a lot of your recommendations and suggestions align with a lot of things that we've been discussing in the background. And I also appreciate the fact that you were able to adapt the timelines a little bit, but I do feel as though this has been far more productive in terms of we'll have an SMT, senior management team meeting before too long, and we can discuss some of these items and then determine how to best bring a lot of these forward as part of our budget deliberations. I see that we have all of your contact information, so as we kind of work through this, if we have any follow-up questions, concerns, ideas, we'll certainly be in touch. But I just wanted to thank you guys so much. I always kind of love hearing about all the accomplishments through the year and see what everyone's aspiring to for the next year.
So maybe what I'll do before we move forward with number 5 under business and village signs and grant opportunities and horticulture update, I'm going to single out Nicole Shorts, who's joined us. Nicole is our bylaw officer. She's sitting in the gallery right now because Dave. I think it's very important to note that Nicole has a role here to play, not only in enforcement, but also being proactive. And I think that a lot of the staff will say that this particular council has made it clear that we want to see market improvements with properties that have been let go for long periods of time. But also note that things don't happen overnight. So it takes a process in order to fix things or to work with the property owners. And we genuinely want to work with the property owners. We understand that some property owners don't have the means financially to help themselves. Part of the community improvement plans that we're hoping to engage in is to put together a strategy where we, as a township, as a whole, provide opportunity to people to clean up their properties in a more cost-effective way, but also that people shouldn't be scared if Nicole drives in the driveway as far as what might happen, because there is also other opportunities to get help through the counties if they're in a financial bind. But we all want to live here, we all want to be good neighbors, but I think that sometimes we forget that there's an expectation. You can't throw your garbage over the hill. That doesn't work in today's day and age. And we had a property in Linters that was we had 2 of the Linters property, but the one with the garbage over the hill. The remediation on that property cost the township $14,000 to get rid of the garbage that was over the hill. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Just for clarification, it didn't cost the township $14,000. It went on the tax roll for the property and was recouped through the tax sale of the property.
Yeah. So, but the challenge with that is, and the reason I bring it up is that it cost the township that money originally to get it done. And luckily, when we went to go to tax sale, we made the money back through tax sale, which is great. And actually, I believe in the end, Ms. Dawson ended up being, Terry was the winner on that bid. Strange turn of events, but the moral of the story is that these things happen on a regular basis, and we try to work with the homeowners. Nicole works very diligently to do that. Sometimes there's mental health issues, we have to have the OPP involved. So sometimes it takes time. So all that we ask is that you be patient, and please let us know if there's properties in your communities that are of any concern. We can start the process, but just don't expect that we're going in with a bulldozer the next day to have it dealt with. There's proper protocol and channels that we have to follow. Go ahead, Marty.
Thank you. Just to add to that, we have been more proactive in terms of going out and speaking with property owners and trying to gain compliance over the last year. One of the big projects that we're going to be undertaking next year is looking at some different enforcement techniques through our bylaws so that we have better enforcement tools to use. One of those is a new tool under the Municipal Act, which is called an administrative monetary penalty. And what that means is a lot of words, but it gives us a better ticketing system. Ideally, what it means is that we can issue tickets on some of these properties. Hopefully that's enough incentive if we need to do that to get somebody to work with us to clean their property up. If they don't, it doesn't mean we still can't issue orders, but what we found is if we can actually get somebody to work with us, we're better in terms of maintaining the property, getting the property cleaned up, enforcing that cleanup. Because as the mayor mentioned, in some cases we are dealing with mental health issues or people have limited resources. So, but please, if you do have properties that are of concern, let us know about it. Contact myself or Nicole. We do need a written complaint to actually go out and start enforcement on a property. And I know in some cases people are hesitant, they're worried about submitting a written complaint, but we need that to actually start a file. Doesn't mean you can't call us and we can't go drive by a property to see if there's an issue there and perhaps start a conversation with the owner, but to actually go down an enforcement road, we need some of those written complaints. And so there is a reported function on our website where people can submit a complaint to us online. We can't take anonymous complaints. People have to put their names to them, but we do not divulge who the complainant is when we do receive a concern. The other thing I just wanted to touch on was one thing that was common in all of your presentations as well was the community improvement plans. So you indicated that Kim had mentioned that we did submit for a grant in terms of funding for the community improvement plans. We're hoping to hear back on that early in the calendar year, but we are including money in the operating budget for 2020 as well to advance that. So we'll definitely be involving all of you going forward in terms of the community improvement plan program.
So you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. We've been talking a lot at the Linders Rejuvenation Committee about property standards and what the bylaw enforcement officer can do. So one of the things that we've done is we've actually asked Nicole to come to a meeting, and we're planning on having sort of a little village meeting for anybody who's interested. We're also going to see if we can get a police officer to come at the same time, because there are situations that come up that, people are not aware of. How do you actually, who do you call? Is it a police issue? Is it a bylaw enforcement issue? And the issue of having to send in a written, I didn't realize, my understanding was that there were certain property standards that the township, the bylaw enforcement officer could go there and say, this needs to be cleaned up. The problem with having to put your name on something, whether or not it's anonymous, is if you're the only other person that lives on that street, it's pretty obvious who called the bylaw enforcement officer. So the whole concept of having the bylaw enforcement officer be able to go out there from the township's perspective and say, this needs to be cleaned up, not because your neighbor called, but because the rat infestation now in your community is, horrific. So, there are real issues here. So anyway, just a thought. So we're hoping to have Nicole at our next meeting and hoping a police officer at the same time, because everybody has questions and everybody's afraid to call. Nobody wants to rat out their neighbor, but everybody is frustrated and, fed up sort of thing. So anyway, thanks.
Okay, so we'll move forward with the agenda. I just wanted to introduce Nicole, so thank you very much for coming in, Nicole. Sorry, Wendy.
So I just while you were talking about bylaw enforcement, is it changed to be proactive as opposed to preventative? I know that was talked about at council at one time. Has it changed?
So the previous council did pass a policy that made it more of a reactive process as opposed to proactive. we've been out there trying to be more proactive. So as you mentioned, if Nicole's driving by a property and we do see an issue, we will stop in and say, hey, you need to clean up whatever's on your property. Or we will flag proactively those issues. It's not necessarily entirely reliant on a complaint. However, at the same time, Nicole's one person. So in terms of being proactive across the whole township, it's a challenge in terms of doing that with one person. It's a big job. But we are going down that road of trying to be more proactive, because if we can get a lot of these properties that may have property standards issues starting on them before it gets to a bad situation, it's a lot easier to clean it up before it gets like that property was on the next road.
And is now there.
So that's good to know, but now that people are a bit more aware of the process, then hopefully they will be able to send in a request or have a quick conversation with Nicole. She's always good. Thank you. So we'll go through the last few items fairly quickly. I'd like to wrap up by 10. The next on the agenda is the village signs and the discussion of the individual plates. Ms. Goodman.
Certainly. So, sorry, Peggy, with the exception of Celia's Bay, you will have seen the new village signs recently installed at the entrances. You know, the original, and I should have brought a copy, and I apologize, I didn't. The top part of the sign that has the village name on it, as you can see, there's room for 2 blades across the bottom. And one will identify the township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands, but there is a second blade that is available to be tailored per each individual village. So we were bantering around internally, do we put the village website on there, for example, do we put home of, whatever. And I really wanted to put it out to you as representatives of your village to give us a few recommendations or ideas. Of course, again, you have to think of the whole concept. Somebody's driving in, so to have something really long and text heavy might not be best. However, if there was something Lyndhurst, home of the oldest stone bridge in Ontario, or you know, a place, TLTI in Rito, for example, or whatever that's going to look like, I would like to encourage you to maybe within the next couple of weeks send me your ideas and recommendations. We're really hoping to do something that's somewhat consistent across the villages and whatnot, so that it's not one is a website and one is home of and one is something else entirely different. So again, it lends to that universal branding across the municipality. So anyways, that was the whole discussion on that one. But like I said, I wanted to put it out to you to forward your recommendations, ideas, suggestions. Of course, we can chat about it here a bit.
Peggy, you have a question?
So it could be a logo, or it could be a words, but like 3 or 4 words.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Wendy?
Did you say that it could be a website? Because if you're looking for consistency, if everybody put their website, and we've spent money on increasing websites, when you drive, I think it's up 15 in the Rito area, it says, there's one sign for Rito and it has their website on it, Rito Calls, and it stands out, you can read it while you're driving without it being a problem. And it may be the single thing that, because we'll help each village if we were to put, even if we could put our village logo and our website on there for everybody, you get the consistency you're looking for, and we might get the help we're looking for in terms people pull out their phone and go to the website. So I'm just throwing that out there, that it might be a simple solution for everybody. And I have to add one other thing, we were really, I got so many phone calls because I thought we had agreed not to take down the west sign until it was worn out, and it went down, and everybody phoned me and said, I thought you were charged with making sure that didn't go down.
And I can certainly address that as well, Wendy. And as much as I hope that we can make that happen, because I do appreciate the efforts that went into creating the sign, and that wasn't in poor condition. However, when we issued the contract to have all the signs done, from cost effectiveness and efficiency, that was part of it, but it's also part of that universal branding. And we're really trying to bring everyone together on the same page. But I do have the sign, and I do want to chat with you after the meeting about where we can replace it or put it up so that it's not gone and lost, certainly, but if there's an alternative location that we might be able to put it up, or if you wanted to collect it and put it on the side of a different building or whatever, but we can discuss that offline.
We thought you should put it over on St. Mary's Island so that when people are coming across by boat, they know Rockport was in.
That's actually kind of not a bad idea. Thank you very much. Upcoming, any further discussion on the village signs? If not, we'll move on to upcoming grant opportunities. Sorry, just turn around.
All right, so I'm kind of actually excited about this one. This was an agenda item that we wanted to add as a standing item, just to review upcoming grant opportunities, because we just think that that's incredibly valuable and allows everyone to stretch their dollars a little bit further. I do only have 4 on my radar at this particular point, but as I have others, I will be sure to send them along. The first one in particular is the Ontario Trillium Foundation has a GROW grant that is available. So if you are incorporated, you could apply independently. If you are not, we would be more than happy to partner with you and your organization. The GROW grant is typically designed for a 2 or 3 year project, and you can apply for a maximum of $250,000. Of course, you would have to have some matching funding on the table. Generally, the program is designed to grow, expand, scale up, or improve a program or a service that you're currently offering. So if, for example, Lansdowne does the Scarecrow event, and if we can demonstrate, because this grant is really evidence-based, so if we say for every Scarecrow we're drawing 5 new visitors to the community, we think that that's brilliant to roll it across the entire municipality. So what we would do is say over the course of the next couple of years expand so that, you know, the next year we're doing Scarecrows in Sealy's Bay, and then we're doing Scarecrows in the rest of the village, so that it's scalable, but it's taking something that has proven success and increasing or enhancing or rolling it out. So I know that you guys have all done a number of fantastic projects, and if there's anything that you think could be scaled up or duplicated elsewhere, or if there's a program that you're aware of that happens in another municipality that could have direct and benefit if it was applied here. So if we adapted the program or whatever the case may be. The deadline for this application is November 27th. The grants are not terribly onerous to draft at this particular point, or at least in my experience, I don't find them too troublesome. So if you have any ideas, please feel free to reach out or to have a discussion, you know, hey, we've done this, would you guys like to try that out in your community as well? I just think that it's a really great opportunity to build on existing strengths and things that we know actually have impact. So the next one is the Tourism Development Fund. And there is no hard deadline for this. However, you are encouraged to apply a minimum of 4 months in advance of your event. This is non-capital funding. So it's more in terms of development of the tourism sector within your particular community, building capacity, new investment attractions, and work that helps increase our overall competitiveness in the tourism market. It might include things like consulting services, research costs, plan supports, conference costs, etc. And they will provide up to 50% funding for those kinds of applications and whatnot. So again, if it was, I'm going to pick on Lansdowne, you guys are getting the front end of the stick here, but let's say it was the fair, for example, and it was the 150th, and we really wanted to blow that up and maybe do some sort of pairing with another 150-year-old agricultural fair. And it's one of those bigger destination things. So,
Is that a licensed not-for-profit organization to apply?
I believe you would likely have to apply partner with the municipality. I don't know, or
So a business.
Rockport.
A
I
business.
don't know if businesses can. Let me look into that, Wendy. Right, so I quickly got that note down. As I'm sure many of you are aware, number 3 on our list is the Community Infrastructure Program. So I don't want to keep, sorry, how do I say this? I'm taking that opportunity. However, we're going after the Lansdowne Community Hall, and we'll be putting in an application in the wheelhouse of about $8.6 million. That will allow us to leverage the funding that our council has approved as part of the capital budget, so that we're able to move ahead with that project. However, When I say that, the grant is actually two streams. So this is for the major projects. They do have a secondary stream that is particularly for minor rehabilitation projects. Projects have to be less than $5 million. There does have to be a matching funding on the table. There is a formula, so federal funding is in the wheelhouse of 40%, provincial funding in the wheelhouse of 33%, leaving municipal funding or partner funding in the wheelhouse of about 26%. So if there's a particular project that you're interested in your community, we may be able to pull something together. My only concern with that one would be that we would be submitting 2 grant applications, which may be competing with each other. There will be a 4th round coming out under the Canada Infrastructure Improvement Fund. I believe early next year that speaks to rural and northern communities, and it is another infrastructure-based sort of program. So that's going to talk a little bit more about connectivity and some of these sorts of things. So again, just to put that one on your radar. Again, if you have a project, I'd be willing to talk about that. Question?
Could that be used for parking? That parking proposal in Rockport? As infrastructure on?
Duly noted, and that would be considered rural infrastructure as well, because it's not a major city, so maybe that's something we should for the next round. Because we have to get all the costing and everything, and that's the biggest challenge, is that what you don't realize is it's important to have things that are quote unquote shovel ready to go, already quoted, already the funding, like the costing already done, because the more thorough you are with your submission, the more likely you are to be successful. So luckily, the Lansdowne Community Building was essentially ready to go because of all the prep work that had been done in previous councils and previous staff people, so. But it's
typically in for Sully's bid.
Absolutely. The 4th opportunity that I have is Celebrate Ontario, and I believe some of you are familiar with this one already. The 2020 details will be coming soon. They're not currently published. However, the Blockbuster stream is open. So the Blockbuster stream is kind of designed for those sorts of activities, shall we say, or events that are like a one-time big major event. And so it's to help draw people to the community out. And a lot of the Celebrate Ontario stuff is really about bringing people into, you know, if I would normally go to Lyndhurst for the turkey fair, I drive in and I drive home. But how do I encourage somebody to come into Lyndhurst, attend the turkey fair, and then maybe hop over to Sealy's Bay and go check out Haskins Point, for example, if I'm on one water body and I want to connect to the next. So how do we draw these people, keep them in our community, spending their money for a little bit longer? Again, with the Blockbuster stream, if there is a significant event that you're trying to bring into the community, let me know. This one is, again, a 4-month lead. There is no specific target deadline. So long as this fund is open and available, if you found out in January that you have an opportunity in September, the pot may still be open and available for us. So again, just to try to be very forward-thinking or long-term thinking with some of these opportunities. If we find other opportunities over the next little while, we'll be sure to maybe circulate them by email to this organization, because I don't believe we meet next month, do we? Okay.
So next, any further questions in regards to the grants? Go ahead, Sue.
Can we just get a quick, can you do some kind of quick write-up so that we can share that with our committees? I'd love to be able to talk to the group about those before we go any further. Thanks.
Perfect. Next on the agenda is the horticulture update.
If I don't write it down, guys, I won't remember, so. Okay, so stemming from our last meeting, I know we had a bit of conversation about the flowers, and a few of you had referenced some of the flowers in some of our neighboring villages and whatnot. So we made a few phone calls to try to ascertain where our budget falls with the other ones, how are their programs being managed and whatnot, and really, of the 5 of us, and we'll include ourselves in the list, no 2 are the same, so there's no real big surprise there. We know that our budget is very in line, like I said, with the others. A lot of them, however, do a lot more fundraising. So actually, in fact, their municipality is putting forward fewer dollars in that they have very active volunteer groups that are taking that pot of money, let's say $2,000, and leveraging it and generating an additional $4,000 to contribute to the horticulture program in their communities. In some instances, The maintenance of the flowers is included in the contract for supply of flowers. And so in discussion with Mr. Goleen, we've talked about trying to look at a few different approaches moving ahead in terms of how we're going to tender that. So that could be supply and maintain, just maintain, and of course engage them in a more fulsome discussion about, what are the maintenance requirements for the different plant species that we're bringing in. So I just wanted to let you know, we heard some of your concerns and complaints, and our team is definitely looking at alternative solutions to make sure that our flowers are looking as robust as they possibly can. I would also like to add, we will probably be putting out that request for quotations sometime in December or January, so I don't know if you've had an opportunity to consider flower species or particular colors. I know, again, it's part of that unification across the municipality, so again, if there is some consensus or you guys have any ideas, please let me know so that we have that information at hand when we develop the RFQ.
Any discussion on the horticulture update? Okay. The only information item I have is just to mark your calendars for the Mayor's Breakfast, which you're holding on November the 14th. It is going to be held at the Glen House Resort. And I have a request of each and every one of you. The theme that I've chosen for this year's breakfast is building community. So what I'd like, if at all possible, if each one of the groups can provide me with a symbol or something that represents your respective communities. For example, a couple of the scarecrows would be nice if we could bring them down. It's partially to decorate the venue, but it's also to showcase, like, if we can get a red canoe in there, I really love that. But maybe the turkey sculpture that should, the one that's sitting somewhere that, but something to speak about water in Rockport.
Do you want a real skiff?
That would be lovely. But the whole point, there is going to be a small cost to attend the breakfast, to cover the cost of the breakfast. But I will be giving a speech that morning, but it'll be in the morning, it'll be early, it'll be at 7:30 in the morning, so everybody can leave and go on to their jobs and work. So we're hoping to get both residents and businesses involved in that particular day. But my hope is that this will be a lead-in to community improvement programs. And we're hoping to also have a guest speaker there. We just haven't nailed down that particular date, but we will be done by 9 o'clock or shortly thereafter, so that people can go on to their jobs and to their businesses. And I hope each and every one of you can come. So if you could message the clerk and let the clerk know what you might be able to provide, and if you need help getting it down there or whatever, maybe we can send one of the roads guys up to pick it up if they're in that vicinity, that sort of thing. If you've got a half ton, if there's something that needs to be transported, we just need to coordinate it through the clerk's office. So I would appreciate any help, and hopefully I'll see you there as well. So, any other information items that anybody would like to share? Oktoberfest that's happening this weekend. What else? Ms. Dempsey?
The Arizona Santa Claus Parade is on November the 17th, and the AGM is also on November the 26th, and we're always looking for new volunteers. And Kim helped us with a plan for our washrooms, and that we're going ahead with that. I have secured a couple $100 from the RTO to the Retired Teachers of Ontario, and we have put out letters to other organizations in the community asking for money, and I believe you secured $500 from the Women's Institute, so we need about $13,000 to further our washroom plans in tourism.
Peggy?
Yes, as far as AGM is November 6th, and the topic is going to be encouraging growing hemp as an industrial commodity in our township. So we're having someone come and talk to us about that. Very good. Whatever. And then Storyfest, November 17th at 2 p.m. A grand adventure in the Marshall Islands by Jim Ruffin.
Wendy, you had something to add?
Well, you mentioned Oktoberfest tickets are almost gone. In fact, they'll probably be gone by the time I get back there. Friday, November the 8th is Mary's Merry Fiddlers at Church of Redeemer at 7 p.m. And it's open doors, donation jar. And November 22nd, I believe, Friday again, is the light up of the gates in Rockport. I can't believe November is crashing in on us already.
So Kim, you have something to add?
I just wanted to actually, speaking of the tree lightings and light up gates and whatnot, of course, as we've done every year, we are more than happy to come out and offer some support in terms of providing hot chocolate or apple cider and a few cookies at the event. So again, just confirm if that is still welcome, and either myself or one of my team will be there to help out with anything.
Okay.
Kim, when is the deadline for the next township newsletter?
Off the top of my head, I'm not really sure. So the next edition would be a December, January edition. Therefore, it would be going out within the latter part of November. I know Kara has holidays coming up. That poor girl, I work her to death, and she is more than due for some time off. So she will probably actually be reaching out sometime within the next week or two to get ahead, just with that early call for information.
So thank you for that reminder. I have a note here. I cannot believe the response that we got from that newsletter in a very positive way. We had a few hiccups where a few people did not get it, but we'll hopefully work those kinks out for the next one. But I think it is a very valuable tool, regardless of the internet and the availability of information. The actual newsletter, physically being able to be put on somebody's fridge is an important piece. And we're looking for more information the better. But more importantly, any suggestions for changes to fonts or anything any comments or any feedback that you've got, please pass it along to Kim Goodman or Karen Hunke, who is the quarterback of that particular project, because we can only go up from here. So the more input we have, the better it's going to be from all of the groups. So thank you very much. And any feedback, we're welcome to it.
I had lots of positive feedback on it, so I know everybody really thinks we should do everything on the internet, but it went around at different meetings that I was at, and people were passing it around. So I think there's something to be said for having something like that.
Anything else for information items before we close the meeting? None?
Just one quick note, Peggy was talking about the vote a few minutes ago. I heard on good authority on the weekend that they had approximately a 90% reservation for this season. Very happy with that, and they're getting 4 more boats in February, March. So I think they're here to stay. They're also looking to expand into other waterways within Ontario as well.
Thank you, Donna.
So something else it's gone now. So any other information items to share? Seeing none, I'll put the motion for the adjournment forward from Donna Dempsey, seconded by Peter Christie, that the peer committee adjourn. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Carried. Thank you so much, everyone. Do you meet in a November meeting, or are we good until February?